Okay. Alright, so this is gonna be very informal, so it's like a conversation.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So I did a lot of research into your background.
Okay,
Yeah, and since you returned it to me so quickly, I had enough time to do everything.
good.
Yeah. So you grew up in Fukuoka, Japan.
Well, that's where I was born. I grew up in the city called Kofu, Kofu, Japan, just outside of Tokyo, about hour and a half by train.
Yeah.
That's Fukuoka is quite a bit far down south from Kofu. So yeah, Kofu is where I grew up. I was born in Fukuoka.
Well, what was it like?
What was it like? Kofu is a very beautiful place, surrounded by mountains.
Okay.
I grew up looking at Mount Fuji every day.
Oh,
And the seasons, 4 seasons of Mount Fuji is quite the most impressive one is the winter time that you wake up with a white top of the Mount Fuji that I can see from my own room,
oh.
and that was a nice way to wake up every day. Yeah.
Were there like sakura trees around?
Of course, sakura trees, especially right now, this season,
Oh yeah,
is a
it's rare.
very big, sakura cherry blossom viewing time, and not only that, this is the beginning and end of the school year. The end of March is the end of the school year, and the beginning of April is the beginning of school year. So cherry blossom has the corresponding meaning of that either you're graduating or you're starting a new life.
Yeah, it's like I've seen on a bunch of TV shows, the cherry blossoms, the wind blowing them, the petals falling. That was very beautiful.
Yeah.
So you talked about like looking out your window and seeing Mount Fuji every day.
Mm-hmm.
What were some memorable childhood memories?
Memorable childhood memories really related to the Mount Fuji. When I wake up in the morning, and of course in Japan back then, this is back in the late 60s or early 70s, we did not central heat and central air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Therefore, you wake up, your house is probably 2-3 Celsius when you wake up, inside the house. So I see the beautiful mountain, but I don't want to get out of the bed because it's very cold.
Yeah.
So I would wait for my mother to turn on the space heater downstairs, and then as soon as the room is somewhat warm, my mother will call me down to the living room. That was the only place we have space heater.
Right,
so I will go down there to the living room and change my clothes, etc. So that's something that related to Mount Fuji, watching Mount Fuji in winter time, but not wanting to get up. Yeah, something like that. Other childhood memories, public schools. We had a lot of good time with friends. Playing baseball, playing soccer, just hanging out with friends. Innocent good time in elementary school childhood. Riding bicycle around, falling, getting hurt, getting hit by car. Those crazy things that many kids do.
Yeah. And regarding like the winter, did you have like a table where you have to like tug your legs on there?
Right, kotatsu table.
Yeah.
Where our house was rather old, built in right after the war, so it was built in late 40s. So it had like a mud wall, and it's just a real old style Japanese house. Then you have tatami mat on the floor. Then back then the electricity was not abundant back in 40s, early 50s. Therefore, what they do is they put hot coal in the ground level of that kotatsu table.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, in Japan, you go up about this far up, so 1 foot or so, just for the sake of the recording, 1 foot or so, you go up from the ground to go inside the house. You take your shoes off and you go up to the inside level. Okay, so tatami is about a foot up from the ground level. So you remove part of the tatami, the square part of the tatami.
Yeah.
Then it's indented about a foot or so down. Then you put hot coal down.
And then
you cover it with a table and blanket. Then you have nice warm kotatsu table. We did that until probably early 70s, 72, 73, until then. Then electricity, then we bought electric kotatsu. So we didn't have to do a trouble of making coal and bring it in. But then now we had just plug in electricity. Then you had hot kotatsu. So that was nice. The more comfortable, more convenient. It's starting with the electric generation. The new generation, the electricity became abundant.
That's what they use that setup for most of Japanese households nowadays, right?
It's very common, and I don't know of any household that doesn't have kotatsu table. That's where the family gets together, and that's where families spend time together. And it's a small table, so this brings the family closer.
It's very intimate.
Intimate, yeah. The
breakfast,
space,
lunch,
space
dinner.
thing, exactly. We're really close. Therefore, the family becomes. Oh, of course, the house itself is pretty small, so you don't want to have a large furniture. You want to have a small furniture too.
I think the smaller house actually adds to the intimate atmosphere too.
Definitely does. Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about Japanese education?
Japanese education.
You went to
certainly.
middle school, right?
Sure. Japanese education still to this date, it's 6 years of elementary school, 3 years of middle school, 3 years of high school, and 4 years in college. That's very common. And then the what required for the Japanese student to finish is the elementary school and junior high. Students are not required to go on to high school and college. However, 99% of students do go on to high school. Beyond that, nowadays more than 50% of, I don't know the statistics, but many students goes on to college. Now, of course, before elementary school, you have kindergarten, etc., but they're not required. I did go to 1 year of kindergarten, and then after that, I went to typical public elementary school. Like I said just a while ago, starts in April, end in March. Back when I was a student, we went 6 days a week.
Oh, wow.
Saturday we went until noon. Then we got to come home. So Saturday afternoon and Sunday we had off. Probably late 80s, maybe early 90s. No, late 80s. They changed to the 5 days a week. Yeah. Other than that, something that noticeable about Japanese education is that each school may have entrance exam. Typical life is that you go to a public elementary school, public junior high, then beyond that, you have to take a entrance exam to go into high school. Mm-hmm. So if you do academically well, you go to a higher level of academic high school. If you don't do academically well in junior high, you typically go to like a commercial business high school to get some skills. Sometimes
vocational.
Some student will go to the industrial high school to get the vocational training. Some student will go to farming, agricultural high school for those reasons. Typically, if you go to those vocational schools after high school, you get a job. If you go into academic high school, then you just go into college. So early on, really, when you go into high school, a lot of times your future get determined.
Oh yeah.
So, but nowadays, if you look at backwards, in order for you to get into good high school, you need to have a good middle school education.
Yeah.
So now a lot of people go to private middle school, which are known for very rigorous academic activities, so that becomes competitive. So everybody takes this entrance exam to those middle schools, right? So in order to go to the middle school, you have to have a good elementary school. Then some kids have entrance exam to the elementary school. So this just goes, it goes crazy.
How was your academic experience?
Mine was, I would say, average.
Mm-hmm.
I went to typical elementary school, public elementary school, public junior high. At the time, I guess I was in the third year of my middle school. Took the entrance exam to typical public senior high school, where most people go into college. So took that, and luckily I got accepted, and so I went to high school. Then I went to this particular high school for 1 year, and about 4 months or so before I came to the United States as an exchange student.
Oh.
So I came to the United States as an exchange student, and back then I did 1 year of exchange. First plan was that I do 1 year of exchange, then I go back and start from where I left off.
Second year.
Second year.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Second year's second term. So what I mean is that American education did not count towards Japanese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did not want to do that. Number one, did not want to go back to my old high school with completely new class. Number two, I really liked the United States, so I just decided to come back for the second year to high school and so graduate. At that time, in my high school, this is very typical, that you can only be absent from high school for only 1 year. You cannot be absent for 2 years. So if I wanted to be absent from 2 years, I had to quit high school. So I went to the principal's office and turned in my resignation from the high school. Yeah. So academically in Japan, I am a high school dropout. Like I said, the entrance exam to the high school was not easy, but entrance exam to college is very difficult, and that really determines your future if you're academically inclined. Some of my friends got into very good universities. Some of my friends couldn't get into the university they wanted to get in. So what happens is that if they don't get into the college they want to go to, they wait another year, then try again.
Study.
Yeah. So we call them masterless samurai during that period. You graduate from high school, you don't have a job, but you study and study entire year. Then you retry to retry to get into that college you wanted to go to. And some people do this for like 5 years.
Wow. So it should be very competitive.
It is. And it used to be getting less and less competitive because the population of children is quite a bit declining. So we used to have, during my generation, it was very competitive. After our generation, it's getting less and less competitive. And, the top tier university was the most competitive ones. And then you got second tier and the third tier, etc., right?
Yeah.
But the bottom of the third tier universities are now can't find any student to come to attend. So they're closing the door. They're actually going out of business. Some of the university towards the end, the third tier universities, because they didn't have. If you don't have certain number of students, you don't get assistance from the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money that goes to the college from Ministry of Education, but you have to have so many students. Therefore, some of these colleges will will count city employees as students. Actually, they would let city employees come take courses at the college free so that they can have money from the Ministry of Education. Still, they struggle. They end up closing the doors. It's just getting worse and worse now. The population of Japan is declining quite a bit. So I'm a bit concerned about that. So that's what education is right now. Other education stories, junior high and high school. You typically many kids get very active with club activities.
Yeah.
Some clubs are athletic clubs. Some clubs are more of a art oriented clubs. So here in the United States, typically you would have like football season, track season, basketball season, whatever, right? In Japan, if you belong to a baseball team, you do that for entire year. You don't go from sport to sport. You just dedicate on that one sport, and then you dedicate yourself for 3 years entire school year. Baseball teams are the most rigorous club activities, and they would, sometimes they have to go to school 6 o'clock in the morning and then run, then the morning practice, then evening practice, you do it until it's dark, you do this all year round.
Were you in the baseball team?
I was not in baseball team. Let's see. I was the first year of my middle school. I was in table tennis. Ping pong.
Yeah.
Table tennis team, and that was okay. Second year, they newly created a Japanese archery called Kyudo. You probably heard like a judo and karate, those martial arts.
Yeah.
There is an archery version of it called Kyudo, Kyudo. Kyudo.
Kyudo.
Yeah, and so they created this team. So I joined the Kyudo team, and so that was my second year in middle school. In the third year middle school, I became a captain of the Kyudo team, and we had a lot of good time. We did a lot of physical conditioning, a lot of practice, a lot of called zazen, which is you fold your knee down and you sit on the floor.
Yeah.
And with the back straight and with your hand on your thigh, and you close your eye. And what we tried was to think nothing, emptiness.
In Zen.
Instead of it's difficult to think nothing. You sit there, and your mind is completely blank, void. And the way the belief is that when you have that void and blank, all you see is the target. Right?
Yeah.
So your physical motion is a muscle memory.
Yeah.
Mentally you only see the target, but then the muscle memory releases the arrow and hits the target. Right? So that was the idea. At the same time, from having nothingness in your mind, you don't get distracted.
Right.
From around you, because you don't hear anything. You're completely within yourself, and all you see is the target only. Then you as a person who's releasing the arrow.
Yeah.
You are not hitting the target. You are letting the arrow hit the target. You're guiding the arrow. You're not releasing the arrow. Or now you're not even guiding it. You're just letting the arrow be where it's supposed to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rather philosophical, but yeah, that was the point. So we do a lot of training in this, sit, close your eyes, and think nothing. And we do that like 30 minutes at a time.
Can you still do it right now?
Oh, no. This is... How long ago was this? No. There's no way I could do that now. Hell, I mean, I can probably go up there and still shoot arrow and hit the target, but nothing like try to go into a trance where, you feel nothing but void. I don't think I could do that.
Oh.
I think it takes training.
It does.
Yeah.
And after that, you immigrated to, you were exchange student here.
Exchange student, yeah.
Which high school did you?
Went to a high school called Suring High School, Suring. Suring High School is in a small town in Wisconsin, and I went from population of 200,000 people from my hometown Kofu to this small town of population 581.
200,000 to 581.
Yes.
Wow.
It's a small farming, dairy farming place, and my graduating class has 60 students.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was one of the largest that they had. So it was a lot of fun. Came to Suring. Did some music. Did a lot of athletics with everybody. Just to enjoy American life. Just experience what American students experience.
What was your first impression when you came to the high school? The only Asian kid.
Only Asian kid. Only minority. Everybody was
white.
Everybody was white.
Yeah.
No black, no Hispanics. I was only non-white, and it was fun. My first impression was that everybody was so friendly.
Oh.
That was my first impression. They would yell at me from the hallway. There are some kids who love to be loud and be noticeable, right?
Yeah.
So those kids will be just down the hallway and they just yell at my name, just be loud and obnoxious. And I took it as more of a friendly gesture, and made a lot of good friends. Involved with some athletics and involved some music, and the language was difficult. First week I couldn't speak any. I could read and write a bit, but listening and speaking training in Japan is minimal.
From middle school. Right?
I took English from middle school, so it's 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and 10th grade. So I had 4 years of Japanese English training in Japan, but I could not understand what I'm hearing, and I could not speak anything. The read and write I could do a little bit. So it tells you the level of English education back then in Japan. Many teachers could not speak. Really, they could not speak English. They could read and write, but they could not speak. So we didn't do the speaking practice because our teachers couldn't.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so back to Surrey. The first week I cried every night because just couldn't understand, couldn't communicate. Gotten better little by little. By third month or so, I was doing much better. Catching up a lot more words. And I think the key was really making friends. And even though I didn't have good English command, but we just hang out and laugh, and just do physical funny things. Make music together, play S-Lake together. Those things is just beyond language, I think.
And where did you live, by yourself, or?
No, I lived with a host family.
Oh.
And host family had 4 kids. Oldest was probably 3rd grade in elementary school. Then 3rd grade, 1st grade. Then they had 3-year-old, and they had like 6-month-old. So 3-month-old, 6-month-old, we always watched Sesame Street together after school. So those 3 of us, we learned English together.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of fun. Then the host family would take me to different places, let me experience different American cultures. Typically those northern cultures, a lot of Germans, so there were some German background things. So there are some Swedish, in terms of some Swedish background things that I got to do. Things that I wouldn't do here in Texas, that I got to do up in Wisconsin. So that was a lot of fun. Got to experience some dairy farming.
Oh.
Some of my friends are dairy farmers. I never got to milk a cow, but they produce good cheese, and it's a lot of fun up there.
How was did you get used to the American food?
Immediately. Of course, American food is pretty popular in Japan. So the getting used to American food was not difficult. What was difficult was I'm missing Japanese food.
Which they don't have. They didn't have in Wisconsin.
Yeah. And what we find in grocery store as frozen food, as Japanese, what they label as Japanese food is nothing like Japanese. Their American concept of Japanese food, which they think that would taste good to American consumers, right?
Yeah.
So has nothing like Japanese food. So I did miss quite a bit of Japanese food, but getting used to American food. What's American food? It's pretty simple. And my host mom didn't cook much.
Oh.
She's a bad cook, number 1. Number 2, she did not like to cook. So we had a lot of stuff like she would boil noodles, put butter and salt on it, and have a side salad, and that was dinner.
Oh.
Lunch was typically a bologna sandwich, cold cuts sandwich.
Yeah.
So just bread and mayonnaise or mustard or something was cold cut, and that's it. That was the lunch. Very simple. Breakfast was typically cereal or toast.
Yeah.
So it's a lot less involved as far as food goes to me. Japanese people like to eat elaborate stuff every day, every meal. Of course, we like to have rice every 3 meals. We have to have rice. But here, American food, I got used to it quite a bit quickly. but I did miss Japanese food quite a bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you teach the host family or your American friends about Japanese culture?
Yeah, Japanese culture. I did. I was not a cook, and as a high school kid, you don't cook that much. So I didn't know how to cook. So I taught them, as far as cooking goes, I taught them as much as I knew. But other than that, I brought some stuff that I'm going to need from Japan, such as one thing that I felt that was needed was the ear cleaner. That we have special ear cleaners in Japan, so I would bring. So I'll show to everybody. Other cultures. What did I do? I would bring a book. Then they get kicked out of it because it's written backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because Japanese books, I don't have any. But Japanese books, it's written vertically, and when it's written vertically, you read from right to left.
Yes.
So the books open backwards, like a manga book. Manga books,
right
exactly. Opens backwards. So some people are kicked out of looking at my book. Music. I brought a lot of music with me. And they were fascinated how Japanese popular music sounds just like American music.
Mm-hmm. I remember Japanese rock music during that period was very at its highest level.
Probably so. Yeah. And those are the cultures I felt that I brought in to my friends. Those were things that my friends were very interested in.
Oh.
Yeah.
And your experiences here, did they make you want to come back to the U.S.?
Oh, definitely. So my first. Let's see. When I first came to the United States, right? That program I had to recommit or submit the request to return after 6 months. So after 6 months, I knew that I wanted to come back. I wanted to come back to the United States. So I turned in my request to come back to the United States to do the second year of exchange.
It's from the same high school, right?
Same high school. It's the same program. We typically, in Japan, when you become an exchange student, there typically is an agency in between.
Yeah.
And that I had to apply to, or actually I had to let the agency know that I'd like to come back for the second year. Yeah.
Any particular reason why you chose the United States, not any other country?
Well, that's very interesting. My interest in the United States really began. First time I thought I wanted to come to the United States was after watching a movie called Convoy back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. It was I think Burt Reynolds was in it, and it was a movie about truck drivers going across the United States, and those semi-truck trailers, there are hundreds of them, just they're traveling together and making like a road havoc for everybody else, called Convoy. And I was very impressed, and I'm very amused. And after that movie, I said, I'm going to go to the United States and become a truck driver. So I still have that dream. Maybe one day I'll become a truck driver.
Did you try to drive a truck in Wisconsin?
No, I didn't. But that's first time that I thought the United States was cool. I really like the big open space in Japan, which we don't have.
It's very crowded.
Yeah, very crowded. And in Japan, you never see a horizon. Here in the United States, you go some places, you actually see horizon on land, right? In Japan, you go to the ocean, then you can see the flat horizon on the ocean.
Yeah.
But as far as land goes, you never see a horizon. In Japan, you see mountain. and they never see a flat line. So I felt that I really like this to be able to see the horizon. So big open space with horizon, straight road. Yeah, and the road just goes. You can see the end of the road at the horizon. Those are things that I really liked. But then I really got into music.
American music,
American and British music, and I was very much interested in rock and roll, punk, rock, and hard rock, some pops, some folk music, etc. And pop music in general. Many bands back then, popular in Japan, were English singing band, either from Britain or America, United States. So that was another reason that I wanted to come to United States to do some music.
What instrument did you play?
I played guitar, but I was mainly a bassist. Yeah. So I came to high school, brought my guitar, brought my bass, and high school they needed me to play bass. I play bass for them, and like a jazz band, stuff like that.
Were your parents supportive of you going to the U.S.?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. My father, and I had this fascination with the United States.
Yeah.
Then one day I come home. It was the first year in high school. One day I come home. My father had this package of papers, throw down the table, and he says, "You're going to take this exam to become a foreign exchange student."
Oh.
And I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice to say yes or no. At that time, I actually was not interested in becoming an exchange student, because that means I have to go away from all my friends back in Japan.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I'm just a high school kid. I have my friends. I have my life over here. Life is good. I have a girlfriend. Come on. So I didn't want to do that, but I didn't have a choice. And it turned out to be a good decision on my dad's part. But of course, since then I haven't seen my parents very much. Once I became an exchange student. Yeah. That's how I basically came to the United States. After that pile of paper, I filled all in and turned it in to this agency. And to become an exchange student, you have to go take written exam, and once the written exam gets approved, then you go back for the speaking exam. And then like I said, I couldn't speak much, but they said good enough, so they let me come.
Sort of like the TOEFL, right?
Yeah, something like that. But overall, I have no regret coming to the United States. Yeah.
And you, so did you continue to attend that high school?
I went there for 2 years and graduated from there.
Oh.
Yeah, with all my buddies.
Oh, and then did you go back to Japan between those years?
Between those years, yeah. Summertime, I typically would go back to Japan for a month or two. Yeah. Then got into college. Yeah, just during summer. During summer, I would go back home and work places and just save enough money so that I can. Summer job, so I can save up enough money for living expense. To aid living expense for the following year. Yeah.
And you went to. What were you doing in Bolivar, Missouri?
Bolivar, Missouri was my undergraduate school.
Oh.
I was there for 3.5 years. One interesting thing here in the United States is that if you work hard enough, you can graduate from college in 3 years.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. and we're not rich by any means. So my dad wanted to cut the cost of living expense.
Yeah.
So my father was asking me if I could finish high school in college in 3 years. So I tried my best. I think my degree required 124 credit. I graduated with 125 credit. But what happened was I was on my way to graduate in 3 years. I was taking 21 hours per every semester.
Wow. It's
and
intense.
It was intense. And it has to take, sometimes I have to take summer classes, or my school had what's called a winter term.
Mm-hmm.
So January was like a short summer term that you can do. You can do all day for 3.5 weeks, something like that, and then you get 3 credit hours. So I did a winter course, winter term every winter. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I think I got sick on the last spring semester, so I had to drop some classes, so I didn't graduate in 3 years. It took me 3.5 years to graduate.
What was your major there?
I was there studying music. So from my passion coming here in the United States, to follow the rock music, just be a musician or whatever. So after that, went on to study music, very broad, general music.
You also studied linguistics.
I did study linguistics. That was after music, music, and after I grew up, come to a reality.
Oh yeah, like the truck driver.
Like truck driver. It took some maturing for my end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did some maturing. Then linguistics I didn't study until I was graduate.
Oh.
After
That was in Texas, right?
Linguistics I did some study in Texas, some study at the Cornell University in New York.
Cool.
Yeah, applied linguistics, teaching Japanese and stuff like that. Yeah.
How was it? How was teaching Japanese?
I love teaching Japanese. It's a lot of fun. I taught Japanese for 12 years at the Baylor University in Waco, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I started in 1990. Start teaching when I was 25. Then 2002. July of 2002, I turned in my resignation because I got this job here at Rice. For 12 years, I had a blast teaching Japanese the student taking Japanese. I was the only teacher, so I got to know a lot of students. Baylor University, first year language classes meets every day for 1 hour.
Same here. It's the same here.
So I got to know students really well.
Mm-hmm.
And some student will take language from me for 3 years. So we got to know each other very well, and we still keep up with each other on Facebook now. And let's see, the biggest group I had was 100 students, 30 in one section of 30 and 10. 30 in first year, one section, 30 in one section, another section of first year, 30 second year, and 10 students in third year. That was the biggest class that I had to teach, biggest year that I had. That was, I think, during, you may not know this, 92-ish, 92, around that time, early 90s, United States, what we had called Japan bashing. And back up in Detroit, people were with a sledgehammer. They are bashing Japanese cars, and very interesting period. during Japan bashing, my class population became probably peaked because everybody's talking about Japan, so kids wanted to know what was Japan's like. So they come to take my class, and of course, not only I teach Japanese language, but the big part of teaching Japanese language is teaching Japanese culture. So they felt that perhaps knowing Japanese may be useful to their career. So yeah, sometimes these bashing problem or the some intense moment, either diplomatically or economically, brings a good thing out too. So.
How did you keep going for 12 years? You really enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it. I think I loved the interaction with a student, get to know student, and talk to them, watching them grow as going from high school graduate to adult. They go through this transformation, and like I said, some student will take class with me for 3 years, and I really see the transformation. It's really good to see how they're maturing and how their thinking is evolving, and those things that I really enjoyed. Being in contact with students, communicating with students, I think that really kept me going.
How was the working environment?
Very good. I was at the modern foreign language department, so we are all foreigners. So we're just a group of foreigners. So we understood the difficulty of living in small town like Waco, where it's pretty, countryside, American small town, Texas small town, So if I wanted to go get some decent food, I would either go to Dallas or Austin, over the weekend. Or if I wanted to get some Japanese groceries, I'll go to Dallas or Austin. So many weekends, most weekends actually, I was either in Dallas or in Austin, just having fun. But because of the department itself was compromised with mostly foreigners, it was a very easy place to work. Yeah.
And when you were teaching Japanese to these students today, did they really like the language?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Improved a lot.
Improved a lot, and I tried my best to make the language learning fun. Sometimes some faculty take it as more of academic approach, but Japanese, any language, in my approach is that it's our responsibility to let help students to want to use the language.
Yeah.
Try to make atmosphere light, casual, and try to make it as fun as possible, but at the same time, academically challenging. I taught some. So mostly I taught Japanese language and culture class. Sometimes I will teach. They will ask me to read with student some literature that's translated, Japanese literature translated into English. And literature is not my specialty, but I would read with students, and I would give my student my idea or broad Japanese idea of culture and how that applies to this particular novel. So through that, literature and translation, the course is called Literature and Translation, I was able to teach some culture without teaching any Japanese language, just in English. We also taught some more of a big general class. Some was a guest to some of the history class, general world history class, and they want me to come and talk about modern Japan, stuff like that. So I got
Did any of these students visit Japan because?
Yeah, definitely. We had two universities actually that we could send students to in Japan. Yeah. One down in Fukuoka, where I was born, and the other one is in Tokyo. So we encourage our student, any of the student, to apply to go study abroad. And actually, those are the one who goes abroad, percentage-wise, are the one on my Facebook the most. Those are the ones that I sent to Japan. They still keep up with me. Yeah. So I think those are the students who are most interested in Japanese language and culture. Yeah.
Did you visit Japan in the time you were in Waco?
I probably did that at least once a year. No, at least every other year, I think. I go back often. My parents were still there, and I have a brother back in Japan, so just go back once in a while. And once I had a kid, once I got married to American Bride, I wanted to show my American Bride Japan. Then once I had a kid, I wanted my kid to experience Japan. So yeah, so we'll still go back.
Because Japan industrialized really rapidly those years, right? How did you feel about the transformation when you went back?
I welcome that quite a bit, and progress is a good thing. Yeah. In most areas, there are some areas, of course, it's arguable, but industrially or commercially, development, I think, really helped Japanese people really to come out more, to be more internationalized, which helps them to understand how other people live, how other people think, and at the end, Japan can become a better better member of the international community. So, in that regards, I think that progress is very good.
How did your hometown change?
Yes. Something very similar to what happens here in the United States. The downtown becomes less populated because people move out. So when I grew up, there are a lot of stores in downtown, and those stores are almost all gone, and all the stores are surrounding. So even my city, it's almost impossible to live without a car. A lot of people has cars now, and public transportation. Back when I was growing up, public transportation was more important, I think. But now it's more convenient because you have a car. You have more money to spend, so you can afford your own car. You can afford your own gas. Back when I was growing up, we didn't have money, so we didn't have car. We just had to rely on public transportation. Yeah.
How did your family about going back and visiting Japan?
Me coming back?
And your family?
My family?
We took them to Japan to visit.
Oh, okay. My family, yes. Oh, they love it. My wife would move to Japan any day.
Oh.
But I don't want to. I like United States so much. Yeah. So we've explored a bit whether to move to Japan or not. But yeah, and then we might after my kids all grow up. We might spend some time in Japan after we retire. Who knows? But I just went to Japan for a month with my son, just two of us this past summer. He is 17 now. So yeah, we had a blast just visiting different places, just hanging out, eating different food.
Oh yeah, Japanese food. How did he like Japanese food?
He is a very picky eater, so occasionally he didn't like some food, but there are a lot of American food that are refined in a way that Japanese people would eat.
Okay.
So those food that comes more of those food that has American root, my son liked it a lot. But those food that has more of a Japanese root, he did have little problem. But he's only 17, so.
Does he speak Japanese?
That. He speaks some, not as much as I'd like him to. I wouldn't call it fluent, but he speaks at the level of maybe at the end of first semester college level, or
That's
maybe soon.
Impressive.
He does okay. Yeah. Oh. So we hang out and visit places, castles, old castles. We talk about history and got to see some of the relatives and some friends. No, it was a fun trip.
Did you go back and visit your high school?
High school, last time I was in that particular high school was the day that I turned in my resignation. I have not been back since then. Because, the reason I would go back to high school would be to see my friends. And, my friends are not there. So it's just the building, I like the people, not the building. So, social networking, really, the great thing about social networking nowadays is you can just find a lot of friends, lost friends,
Yeah.
So either Facebook or there's a Japanese version called Mixi, M-I-X-I, that I'm a member, and we just keep up with old friends, and I have two there that I know since they've been. We were in kindergarten together, and we still keep in touch with those friends. So yeah, social networking it's just great. It just brings down the time difference, brings down the distance, brings down the border. It's just happy world.
Yeah. And when you were offered a job at Rice, did you want to leave Baylor because you were having such a blast there?
Yeah, that was a very difficult decision. At Baylor, of course, teaching, being a professor, you have pretty flexible schedule. Spring break is off, summer is off, during Christmas. As long as the students are not taking classes, you pretty much had it off. Although you do some research and you do some studies and you do preparation for class, grading, etc. But it was very flexible. Moving from that to this position of staff at Rice University, and staff position is 40 hours a week, and I get 21st when I came here, I get 21 days of vacation. Quite a bit different. Of course, paying was better here at Rice. So it was very difficult whether to be poor and have flexible flexible hours, or more restrictive but have better income. So, but what made me come to really Rice University is this. In universities, most universities that you work at, either professor or staff, your family, your children gets what's called tuition remission, which means that my kids can go to Rice free of tuition.
Oh.
And same with Baylor. If I was at Baylor, if my kid can get into Baylor, then tuition would have been free. Yeah, I mean, living on campus, living in college, then we have to pay for that, living expense.
Yeah.
But tuition will be free. So I compared Baylor, which is a second-tier university, Rice University, which is a first-tier university, and I said, okay, if I'm going to invest my time for my children, I probably should, although I have to work harder, I probably should go to Rice University so that I can give my kids better opportunity. So that's the main reason I came to Rice University.
And he's 17. He's
17.
College this year.
Yes, he is junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So he will apply and hopefully will do the early acceptance or early commitment, early decision.
How's he doing?
He's doing okay. He's at borderline. So hopefully we'll do the early decision this coming November.
Mm-hmm.
Really hoping. And he wants to come to Rice.
So he visited here?
Yeah, he comes here once in a while. Hang out, see students, stuff like that. So yeah, he feels comfortable at Rice. Yeah.
Why did you think about teaching Japanese at Rice?
No, I didn't. Well, Rice already have a very good Japanese teacher, Professor Sato. She's very good, and I had no intention of replacing her. I was more interested, at that time, really interested in doing this research of teaching language with technology. Yeah, I'm very content with what I do now. However, I do as an adjunct faculty at University of St. Thomas, up here in Montrose area. I'm an adjunct faculty there teaching Japanese. So yeah, I get to do this research and do faculty support during the day. At night, I get to have fun with my students at the University of St. Thomas. So
That's good again.
That's great. I have a good life. Yeah.
How was your transition to Rice? The working environment and
going from one academia to another academia really isn't much different. The only difference probably the most difficult part was getting used to the lifestyle of that particular city, coming from a small town in Waco, and moving over here. Waco living expense is pretty reasonable. Here in Houston, it's a lot more expensive. Houses are expensive, and just overall everything is pretty expensive. And what causes a problem is that I can't get, with my salary, it's very difficult to get a decent house in this decent neighborhood around campus. The houses I looked at around campus had one extra zero at the end of the price. So we ended up moving out to a suburb. We bought a house in the suburbs of Houston. So the commute now is 30 miles one way, 60 miles round trip. So takes me about 45 minutes to an hour one way. So that's a change. Back in Waco, I can get to work in 20 minutes or so.
Any other positive things living in Houston?
Oh, the Houston positive things. Wow. I love the diversity. I love the availability of Asian food.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you go to just a regular grocery store and you can get Asian food. You couldn't do that in Waco. The diversity is good, food is good, culture. I mean, around here, museum district, so much culture. Art museum's good. Kids love zoo, very good zoo. And kids love the science museum. Then great music, theater, downtown. Yeah, those are all good things. All very positive things. Living in Houston. Yeah, so I'm very grateful for move. Yeah, and as a family, we feel it was a good move for all of us to come here. Yeah.
Did you want to move your parents to Texas?
You know, we talked about that. My parents were weird. So after they retired, they moved to Australia. They lived there for a year, tried to get a retirement visa. They never got a granted of a retirement visa, so they moved to Thailand.
Wow.
And then they received retirement visa there. So they bought a house, condominium. So they bought a condominium now. And so they were living in Thailand for maybe last 5 years or so. My father's health is not doing very well, so they bought a condo back in Japan. Sold our old house, which was in inconvenient place. Bought a condo in more convenient place. So now they're selling, end of this month, they're selling condo in Bangkok, and they're gonna move back into Japan permanently. All this time, I've offered that they can come to live with me because I'm the first son of the family. I feel the obligation to take care of my parents. And so I've offered them to come live with us, but their reaction is that the United States is too expensive to live. And, you know, whether that's true or not, I just let it be because that's their excuse. Whatever the reason, a true reason, or maybe that is a true reason, who knows. But that's okay. If they don't want to, you know, I don't want to force them. So I want them to be where they feel happy to be. So yeah, so they will be back in Japan at the end of the month. Yeah.
And plus, you have a brother there, so he can take care of them too.
Yes and no. My father and my brothers are not in speaking terms right now. Yeah, they are. Well, my brother has forgiven my father. My father has not forgiven my brother. So they're not speaking to each other. So, yeah. My brother is useless right now. But, yeah. We all have family things. So.
Well, it was very good. It was very kind of you to take your time out.
Oh, you're welcome. I really enjoyed talking to you, John.
Yeah, I guess I'll end this.